From VOA Learning English, this is the Technology Report. High-tech companies are developing the next generation of products that will help us drive cars, do our shopping, and even care for our children. The technology company Intel recently held a demonstration of some of its new devices in San Francisco. One device measured how alert a driver was. Sensors connected to the driver's head measured brain activity. Cameras placed on the car's dashboard measured eye movement. Justin Ratner works at Intel Labs. He says the devices measure how much of the brain is occupied while the person is driving. Devices like these, he says, will make driving safer. Another experimental Intel technology links cars electronically to help prevent crashes. When the driver of the car in front signals a turn or slows down, an alert message is sent to the car in back. There was also a demonstration of a virtual computer. The computer was projected onto the table from a controller hidden in a flower pot. Sensors read the movements of the user's hands, so there was no need for a mouse or other handheld device. This technology could be used in everyday situations. At a market, sensors and computer chips placed in products could help shoppers find the items they want to buy. For example, the technology could help them avoid foods that could cause an allergic reaction. Cameras and sensors are already available to help parents watch their children. In the future, other equipment will monitor a baby's health and mood. And security systems are being improved and simplified with face recognition software instead of complicated passwords. For VOA Learning English, I'm Alex Villarreal. This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. Sony officials held a news conference in early May in Tokyo. They apologized for the theft of personal information from millions of users of the company's online services. Hackers targeted Sony's PlayStation Network, Sony Online Entertainment, and Curiosity Music Systems. In all, Sony says information may have been stolen from more than 100 million accounts. The data includes information like names, addresses, phone numbers, and birth dates. In some cases, even credit and debit card numbers may have been stolen. The United States Federal Bureau of Investigation is looking into the cyber attacks. Sony shut down its PlayStation Network on April 20th. The company is being criticized for not telling its users about the stolen information until a week later. Sony has also been criticized for not making its accounts more secure by encrypting the data. Sony officials say they have now taken steps to improve security. Peter Warren is chairman of the Cybersecurity Research Institute in London. His group studies technology crimes and their effects on our computer-dependent world. Mr. Warren points out that what happened at Sony is not rare. We've seen a number of very large companies that have suffered some tremendously embarrassing losses of data. The problem, he says, is that there is far more interest in developing technology than in keeping it safe. As he puts it, lots and lots of people are being allowed to connect a lot of technology up before it's really been particularly well tested. Peter Warren also points out that many people have a false sense of security online. On the internet, he says, they seem to be so blindly trusting of anybody and of any website, no matter how suspicious it may look. His message to users is simple. Try to be more careful on websites. He says the internet is just like any other street, and there are some twists and turns that can take you into some very, very unsavory places. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. To read and listen to more technology news and for English teaching activities, go to voaspecialenglish.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook at VOA Learning
Special English Technology Report. Smartphones, tablet computers, and e-readers have become a part of everyday life for many people. They have also led to an explosion in the number of mobile applications. There is an app for just about anything you can think of, and more apps are being created every day. Robert Denazzi is a Hollywood movie producer. He is perhaps best well known as the executive producer of Flight Plan, the 2005 movie starring actress Jodie Foster. His most recent claim to fame is as co-developer of a new app called VoiceCal. It is a mobile calendar app that uses voice recognition software. Users are able to enter appointments into their iPhone calendar without having to type in the information. He said although he has a mobile phone, he had to stop what he was doing to put things in his calendar. In his words, it got to the point where I just wasn't using the calendar on my iPhone, and neither was anybody else that I knew. Robert Denazzi decided there had to be a better way. So he teamed up with a friend who is a developer. The two used voice recognition software from a company called Nuance to build VoiceCal. He says when you use VoiceCal, you can say any event you want to put into your calendar and it will appear there. If you have 2 or more events to add to the calendar, you separate them by using the word also. Mr. Denazzi says all of this can be done hands-free. In settings, you can make it fully automatic, so I don't have to touch anything, he says. Robert Denazzi says there is a great need for an app like VoiceCal among busy businessmen like himself. He hopes the app will be successful over the long term. He says, in the movie business, you can do all the advertising in the world, and that can get you a great opening weekend. But if the movie's not good, it will die off. So really what supports a film, just like what supports an app, is word of mouth. Matt Kozlov is the head of a startup technology company called Moonshark in Los Angeles, California. The company makes game apps for mobile devices. It's an exploding marketplace right now, he says. There are hundreds of millions of devices out there right now that we can reach. Jennifer Lopez is helping Moonshark with a finger breakdancing game called DancePad. The company is also working with film director John Woo on an action game expected to be released at the end of this year. For VOA Special English,
this is the
I'm
VOA
Alex
Special
Villarreal.
English Technology Report. A talking kitchen teaches students how to cook French and speak French. Researchers at the Newcastle University in Britain have developed the French Digital Kitchen. Professors Paul Seedhouse and Patrick Oliver led the project. Professor Seedhouse says it works like a satellite navigation system in a car. The sat-nav speaks to you, and it tells you, for example, to turn left. And if you turn left, then it continues with the program. If, for example, you turn right, then it's a mistake. So it loops back and gives you further instructions. The kitchen equipment and tools use motion sensor technology, similar to the Nintendo Wii game system. The sensors help a computer guide the students through instructions in French. The system can tell whether you've done what you were asked to do or not. So let's say, for example, the system tells you to take some butter and cut it with a knife. The sensor in the knife not only knows that the knife is moving, but it also knows what motion the knife is making. Students can ask the computer to repeat the instructions or translate them into English. There are vocabulary lessons before and after the cooking. Professor Seedhouse became interested in the idea after he visited a talking kitchen designed for a different purpose. It was actually for communicating with people who suffer from dementia. It can tell them, for example, that they've left the oven on. He says the French Digital Kitchen turns the process of learning language into a real-life experience. But the idea, known as task-based language learning, required a few changes as the researchers were designing the system. For example, if they had a sink full of water, as soon as people finished cooking with an instrument, they would throw it into the water. And for us, that's deadly, because the digital sensors were immediately ruined. The system could be available for sale by the end of 2012. Adding the technology to a new kitchen could add an estimated 10 to 20% to the building costs. The system could also be added to an existing kitchen. The researchers are also developing portable versions, and the European Union has given them money to begin programs in 6 other languages, including English, Italian, and Spanish. For VOA Special English, I'm Carolyn Pursuti. You can find links to videos about the Talking Kitchen at voaspecialenglish.com. This is the Technology Report. The United States has announced a plan to fight the growing threat from cyber spies and internet attackers known as hackers. United States Attorney General Eric Holder says the Justice Department is fighting back aggressively. He says the department is working with states and federal agencies to bring to justice those involved in online theft and espionage. Mr. Holder called for increased cooperation with private businesses. He also noted the need to protect trade secrets. The Attorney General said a single trade secret can be worth millions of dollars. Stolen trade secrets, he said, hurt businesses, jobs, and economic competitiveness. The new policy calls for fines and trade action against individuals and countries that target U.S. trade secrets. The plan was announced the day after the American information security company Mandiant published its investigation of cyber attacks. It reported that more than 140 companies have been attacked since 2006. The targets include some of the biggest companies in the United States, such as Apple, Facebook, Lockheed Martin, and Coca-Cola. Mandiant says hacking groups in China carry out most of the attacks. They include groups known as Comment Crew and Shanghai Group. Mandiant also identified something called Advanced Persistent Threat 1, or APT-1. It says APT-1 is a part of the Chinese military, the People's Liberation Army. Mandiant says the Chinese government also wants to hack into important parts of America's infrastructure. China's foreign ministry denies Mandiant's accusations. It calls the report irresponsible. For VOA Learning English,
This is the VOA Special English Technology Report. Nurses spend their lives helping other people recover from injuries and illnesses. Yet nurses suffer a surprising number of injuries and illnesses themselves because of their work. In fact, the United States Department of Labor says nursing is the second leading profession for on-the-job injuries. It ranks higher than construction work and law enforcement. Only freight and stock movers report higher injury rates. Nurses and other healthcare workers do a lot of heavy lifting on the job. Lifting and moving patients improperly leads to sprains, strains, and muscle tears, leading causes of injuries to nurses. Gretchen Gregory is an instructor at the Sinclair School of Nursing on the Columbia campus of the University of Missouri. She says back problems are the greatest threat that nurses face when they lift or move patients. You're talking about people that have handicaps or limited mobility that need much assistance. And we have untrained people to do that assisting, and that puts them at risk for hurting their backs. Ms. Gregory leads a new training room where nurses can learn to keep themselves and their patients safe. She says most nurses lack training in how to lift patients. That's not something that we teach in school, but that's when falls happen, and that's when nurses get hurt. The Safe Practices Room has special training equipment, including a life-size mannequin doll. This patient can be filled with water and made to weigh as much as 159 kilograms. Ms. Gregory says most American hospitals have lifting equipment to help nurses move patients. But she says the equipment is often pushed back in a corner somewhere, unused and forgotten. She says the Safe Practices Room teaches the importance of using the tools and skills available. The training room also seeks to improve communication skills and other practices in a setting designed to copy a busy hospital or clinic. As Gretchen Gregory puts it, if we provide an environment where everything's nice and quiet and they can give their medications or they can communicate to a physician when there's nothing going on, that's not really a real-life setting. They have to be able to do it with some distraction. An unidentified donor gave $300,000 to build the new room. The University of Missouri describes it as one of the first of its kind at a nursing school in the United States. You can find pictures of it at voaspecialenglish.com. For VOA Special English,
This is the
I'm Carolyn
VOA
Presutti.
Special English Development Report. A medical aid program in Kenya offers hope to women and girls suffering from a condition known as fistula. About 2 million women and girls worldwide have the condition. There are about 1,000 new cases of fistula each year in Kenya, and as many as 100,000 worldwide. Most cases of fistula are in Africa and Asia. In July, the African Medical and Research Foundation held a medical camp in Kenya to provide free operations to those with the condition. A fistula is a hole that develops between two organs. Obstetric fistulas are caused by obstructed childbirth. When a baby's head is stuck in the birth canal for an extended period of time, it cuts off the blood supply to the woman's surrounding organs. This causes the tissues to die. The woman is left with a hole between her vagina and her bladder or rectum. This causes her to continuously leak urine or feces. It may also prevent her from having other children or having sexual relations. If left untreated, fistula can cause other health problems. These include skin infections, kidney disorders, and even death. Many women suffer intense shame and social rejection because of their condition. Rose Opio developed fistula during childbirth 23 years ago. She said, "I had many problems. I could not go to my farm or conduct my business. There was nothing I could do. When you have this kind of a problem, you can only take care of your body. There is nothing else you can do. People hated me." Many fistula sufferers are rejected and abandoned by their family and friends. Mrs. Opio's husband left her and married another woman. Mrs. Opio was among the women who visited the free medical camp in Kenya to have operations to correct their condition. The World Health Organization says the simple operation can cure up to 90% of fistulas. The organization also says fistula can largely be prevented. It advises girls to delay their first pregnancy until their bodies have fully developed. This reduces the risk of long and obstructed childbirth. The organization also calls for an increase in quality health care and an end to harmful traditional practices like female genital cutting. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report. Transcripts, MP3s, and podcasts of our reports are at voaspecialenglish.com.